Well, welcome back to the Premier League predictions. Last week, we didn't do too well. As I do with all these videos, I'm going to look back at the predictions I made last week, see what we got right, see what we got wrong, and then we'll move on to my predictions for the upcoming matches. So we're going to start off with Arsenal-Tottenham, the North London derby. I predicted 3-2 to Tottenham. It's actually 3-1 to Arsenal. Now Tottenham were destroyed here, and it's a match that's going to fill that Arsenal side with a lot more confidence after they lost to United. It never really seemed like Tottenham could get into the game. Even after Kane's penalty, they couldn't really get their foot back in the door, and they just got cut apart by Arsenal, really. It was a shocking performance from Tottenham. Jesus scored his first North London derby goal after a shocker from Lloris. Pretty much put the ball in his path. Yeah, it was not great for Tottenham. And the red card... their red card didn't help anything. So yeah, Tottenham absolutely torn apart by Arsenal. And move on to Liverpool versus Brighton. I predicted 2-1 to Liverpool. It was actually 3-3. And this game was mental. I enjoyed it more than watching the North London derby, to be honest. Brighton went ahead in the 4th minute, and 50 minutes later they doubled the lead. The Zerbi ball was truly flowing at that point, and Trossard was just an amazing player throughout, and even sealed his hat-trick late on. Wow, what a player. He was everywhere in that match. Honestly, he was great. He could flourish into a real player under the Zerbi. I mean, he's a great player already, but watching that performance at Anfield was crazy. Unfortunately for Brighton fans, Liverpool managed to tie up the points, but it was not a great performance from their squad. I mean, Trent looked lost at times, even just took a nap, and Liverpool were clearly missing Robertson, as Tsimikas is nowhere near the quality of Robertson yet. I thought losing Potter would not have been good for Brighton, but they just looked amazing. I don't know if they could have performed like that under Potter. I honestly don't think they could have. So fair play to De Zerbi. He's really put on a good showing for his first match. Move on to Fulham Newcastle. I predicted 3-2 to Newcastle. It was actually 4-1 to Newcastle, and my God, I did not expect that scoreline. Fulham looked toothless against Newcastle, and an early red card did not help their fortunes. Almiron played an absolute blinder of a game with a brilliant goal for his first one, and then a second not so amazing goal, but still a good goal nonetheless. Mitrovic was removed through injury, which did not help Fulham at all. It's not sure whether he'll be back for this week, but if he's not, it might not be good for Fulham. Newcastle played really well though. They dominated the whole game. Fulham only managed a consolation goal towards the end of the match. I move on to Southampton versus Everton. I predicted a 1-1 draw. It was actually 2-1 to Everton. Now Everton are actually looking decent this season. Bringing in Cody was a masterstroke from them, and he even scored to help them secure all 3 points. I'm not sure what Frank Lampard has done to this Everton squad, but he's really turned them around since last season, so fair play. Southampton scored first with a brilliant goal from Joe Aribo, but they couldn't keep out Everton despite many attempts to go ahead from the Saints. Southampton could have gone ahead at many points, but unfortunately for them, Everton managed to land more of their goals. Not looking good for Saints. I think Ralph's job may be under threat. And move on to Crystal Palace versus Chelsea. Potter grabs his first 3 points as Chelsea boss, and it was Gallagher who finished off the team he was with last season. Also their player of the season last season as well. Mad. And what a last grab goal that was. My gosh. Palace originally went ahead within 7 minutes, but Chelsea managed to claw it back before the break. But we need to talk about Thiago Silva, man. He should have been sent off for what he did, and then he teed up Chelsea's equaliser. Like, you've got to feel punished as a Crystal Palace fan if he was not sent off for what he did, and then setting up their goal. Another dodgy refereeing shout. But hey, it's the Premier League, what do you expect? And then move on to Bournemouth versus Brentford. Now I predicted 3-2 to Brentford. It was actually 0-0 draw, and I'm not sure why I backed a 5-goal thriller, to be honest. But watching that game, neither team seemed like they could score. If they couldn't score if their life depended on it, is what I'm trying to say here. Brentford looked like the better team in my opinion, and Tony really should have buried his goal, but unfortunately for the Bees fans, it just went wide, and the points were shared. And then move on to West Ham United versus Wolverhampton Wanderers. I predicted a 1-0 to West Ham. It was actually 2-0 to West Ham. Wolves did well despite having half their team out to injuries or suspensions, but then they lost Neto early on, so it wasn't great for them. They managed to win balls that they normally wouldn't have won, but they never really troubled the Hammers and ultimately cost Lage his job. Meanwhile, Skamaka and Bowen were brilliant and scored 2 class goals, and Bowen somehow dislocated his fingers as well. Not sure how you manage that in a football match, but here we are. And then move on to Sunday's matches, and we start with the Manchester derby. It's Man City versus Man United. I predicted 4-2. It was actually 6-3. 9 goals. And it was an absolute demolition job from Foden and Haaland. The scoreline's actually kinder to Man United than their performance showed. They only grabbed these goals late on. I can't say they deserve them, but they managed to grab them anyway. But it was really a two-man show for the majority of this match. It was quite funny seeing how many Man United fans stayed for the whole match, because you see glimpses of them when they're scoring their goals, and it's an L, it's a big L. A lot of them left at half time. United got truly battered here. And then move on to Leeds versus Aston Villa. Now, I predicted 3-1 to Leeds. It was actually another 0-0. Both teams were actually pretty decent here, and despite sharing points, I can't help but feel Gerrard is in trouble. I mean, he kind of has been for most of this season, to be honest, but I think this further underlines the fact that Villa fans want him gone. Tempers were high during this clash, and Sinisterra ended up seeing a red card, so he's going to be out, which is not good for Leeds, because he's a good player for them. It was a frustrating game for each side, with many chances for either club, but none of them could seem to finish. But hey, that bodes well. That bodes well for us. I move on to Monday, and now I understand why Garfield hates Mondays, because it was Leicester versus Nottingham Forest. I predicted 2-1 to Forest. It was 4-0 to Leicester. An utter shambles. Leicester absolutely ripped apart Forest. Maddison scored a brace to help bury Forest in the first half. Forest had like 2 chances they could have put away and could have taken the lead early on, but Awoniyi hit the woodwork somehow, and if that went in, it could have been a very different game, but when it's happened now, we can't change it. Cooper is in trouble, unfortunately. I still back him personally. I think he should be backed because they did this business with him as manager, as coach. Something needs to change here, and it's not looking good for anyone involved. Now, Brendan Rodgers has perhaps saved his job for a couple more weeks, but we shouldn't take away from Leicester. They played really well and deserve all the plaudits they're getting. This could be the catalyst for them to stop picking up points, but we'll see next week whether it truly is. At least we didn't throw away a lead. Well, that's been last week's matches. Taking a look at my predictions, I got none right. This is a career low for me. But it's not a great time to be a Forest fan either. After a fiery week of derbies, this week doesn't seem as fun. But some of these games have the potential to be bangers, with a few big clashes taking place this week. We start off with Saturday and Newcastle versus Brentford. Now, Brentford take a trip to Newcastle this week after drawing a blank against Bournemouth. Newcastle are coming off the back of a quite a good win and have performed well at home in previous fixtures. It's nothing good for Brentford in my eyes. I think Newcastle win this 2-1. I see both teams scoring here, but I think that Newcastle have more quality in their squad and will manage to keep all 3 points from Brentford. However, I won't count out Brentford if players like Tony can turn on his form like he did against Leeds. Then Newcastle could be in trouble, but for now, I think Newcastle win this comfortably 2-1. And then move on to Bournemouth versus Leicester City now, and I think Leicester City will be flying high after demolishing Forest, and will be hoping to keep up their winning ways. And against Bournemouth, they have a really good chance of doing that. I would have said that these clubs were quite evenly matched last week, but after Leicester turned up and absolutely demolished us, I can quite easily say Leicester will win this one. I'm going to go 3-1 Leicester. Bournemouth have quality, and I can see them scoring a goal. Like, Leicester's defence isn't the greatest, but with the form Maddison is currently in, I can't see him not scoring in this match. I think he'll carry Leicester once again. And moving on to Manchester City versus Southampton. Now, I think it's pretty obvious what's going to happen here. Haaland, and that's all I need to say. However, last season the Saints managed to keep Man City to a draw, but that's before they had Haaland on board, and he's very likely to rip Southampton apart. I'm going to say 5-0 to Man City. I'm sorry, Saints fans, but I can't see you doing anything against this Man City squad. It's just insane. While Southampton do have flashes of quality within their side, I cannot see them troubling City too much. Probably another Haaland hat-trick if we're being honest. He may even score 4 or 5. Who knows? And then we move on to Chelsea versus Wolverhampton Wanderers. Seeing Chelsea's games under Potter, he seems to have got them scoring goals, both in the UCL and the Prem. This is in stark contrast to Wolves, who have only managed 3 goals this entire season. Now, this is a major problem for Wolves, and I'm sure it's what played into Large getting the sack. I'm going to say 2-0 to Chelsea. Unsurprisingly, I can't see Wolves scoring at Stamford Bridge. They just don't have that power. Chelsea under Potter are looking quite good, and the longer he has with them, the better Chelsea will get. I can't see Wolves getting anything from this match. Not even a goal. It's not looking good for them. And now we have Brighton and Hove Albion versus Tottenham Hotspur. Now, this is one match that I'm looking forward to, should it go ahead. Both Tottenham and Brighton have been looking great this season, and I'm sure they'll give each other a good game. I'm going to say 3-2 to Tottenham though. While Brighton did perform well against Liverpool, this is a Liverpool team that are struggling quite a lot. Tottenham, on the other hand, are performing really well this season, and have more quality goal scorers in their side than Brighton. Brighton's defence has also not been great this season, and I think Tottenham will definitely exploit that. They're looking to put the North London derby behind them and start winning games again, and I think they will against Brighton. And then move on to West Ham United versus Fulham, another London derby this week, and it sees Fulham travel to West Ham. Now, unfortunately for Fulham, they could be without Mitrovic, as he came off injured against Newcastle, but we're not sure on the status of his injury. If he'll be back for the game, we don't know. Now Mitrovic, he hasn't really been able to keep up his goal scoring form from the start of the season. If he's back, I think he could score here for them. However, we don't know yet, so I'm going to say 2-0 to West Ham. I think it'll be another 2-0 win for the Hammers. And while Fulham look like a decent side and start better than West Ham, they're kind of falling off in recent weeks. The Hammers have started scoring goals now, and they look like the better side. And especially since Bowen has opened his account, as Skamaka as well, it'll be hard for them to stop scoring. Now we've got Crystal Palace versus Leeds United. Now Palace host Leeds, and it's going to be a Leeds side without Sinistera, who's been quite good for them this season. It looks like Bamford could be back though, and if he can stay fit and score goals, could be a goldmine for Leeds, because he's a good player, but he just can't stay fit. Again, I'm not sure on his fitness though. I know he was on the bench for the last match. They might actually use him in this match maybe, perhaps, maybe a substitute. I'm not too sure. Both teams seem to be suffering from injury setbacks though. I'm going to say 2-1 to Palace. I think Palace will be able to see off Leeds here. Both teams have players who can score goals, but I think the quality of Palace is currently higher than that of Leeds. Sellers Park would definitely factor in here though, because Leeds do have some brilliant players. However, I think Palace can finish them. Then we move on to Arsenal versus Liverpool, and this is another big match this week. High-flying Arsenal take on a struggling Liverpool side, and normally you'd back Liverpool in this encounter, but I think the form that Arsenal are in, it's pretty hard to back Liverpool in this match. I'm going to say 3-2 to Arsenal. We know both teams have goal scorers and quality throughout the squad. However, Liverpool's form is not great. They also have a quite weak defensive line at the moment, and I think the attack of Arsenal will be able to exploit that Liverpool defence, especially seeing what Brighton did to them. I think Arsenal have got this in the bag. And then we've got Everton versus Manchester United. Now this could be a big match as only 2 points separate the club. Everton looking like a better side after a slow start to the season, but the same could easily be said about Manchester United. They're looking quite good at the moment, despite getting drummed 6-3 by Man City. I'm going to say 3-1 to United. I think Manchester United currently have a much better squad than Everton, and a lot of superior quality in many positions. That's not to say Everton have a bad squad, they don't, but it's not up to par with United's. Everton coming off the back of 2 wins though, and we're hoping to keep that momentum going, but I can see the likes of Rashford and Antony not letting that happen. I can't see Everton winning this match, but they may need a goal, a cheeky little goal. I move on to Monday. Monday Night Football sees Nottingham Forest take on Aston Villa at the City Ground. And this is a huge match for us Forest fans, as Cooper's job could well be on the line here. But I do think we should stick with him regardless. Jarrell's job has been majorly questioned by the Villa fans, so it could up the ante here as both managers may be under pressure. Both teams have not been performing well, but Forest have had clearly the worst start to the league so far. This may be bold, but I can predict a 1-1 draw. I know the City Ground is going to be roaring for this fixture, and while I have no doubt that Villa are the better side at the moment, Forest have a knack for scoring at home, and I can sense a very good atmosphere as people want to show their support for Cooper, and they want to get this team starting winning games. As long as we don't throw away a lead, I'll be happy, but I want points. I'd love 3 points, but I think a draw is more likely. So yeah, those would be my Prem predictions for Game Week 10. I'd like to know your predictions in the comments. Who do you think will win? Who do you think Forest will manage to pick up 3 points? Do you think they'll be able to pick up 1 point? Let me know down below. I've been O2GT, and I shall see you guys in my next video. Peace.